have the answer. Bible Way Hibner Memorial Church of God in Christ presents
It's showing I'm streaming.
This and every Sunday at 9 a.m.
This
Here on
is
WH
your live stream product.
LB Smith Road, Lincoln Studios. Oldies 1.9 is WHYL Carlisle. Welcome to the Real Estate Radio Guys, your weekly source for all things real estate. We're your hosts, real estate broker John Rainville and your mortgage expert Kingsley discuss everything from mortgage rates to home staging for foreclosures and everything in between that affect the daily real estate market. Real people, real questions, real answers. Today's show is brought to you by www.pagoloan.com, your source for new mortgage loans. NMLS number 1018. In by request, trusted for home inspections and radon mitigation in Central PA for over 25 years. And brokersrealty.com, the easiest way to stay in your hometown. Now on to the show.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in Pennsylvania here today. I'm John Rainville, one of the hosts of the Real Estate Radio Guys. I'm a Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York real estate broker. I've been in the real estate business approximately 30 years. And this week I have a guest host on with me. My guest host is?
Jesse Storm with brokersrealty.com.
Well, tell them a little bit about you.
I've been in business since 2010 in real estate. I currently have a team of agents, with a couple of agents doing a really great job in the real estate industry. We're helping people buy residential and commercial real estate, and also we do property management for brokersrealty.com.
So, but you've got a much more varied background than that. You're sort of, you started off in the computer industry. I mean, you've done building, you've done flipping homes. You just have a wealth of things that you've done over the years. That's all probably serving you well now in the real estate business.
Oh yeah, John. Definitely serves really well from the standpoint with the computer background. We specialize a lot in the marketing that we do, and that's where it really helps with real estate because of the years in marketing for the different companies that we've had and sold over the years, whether it was the computer business or the real estate business itself. So we've done quite a bit, and it's blended really well over the years. But it all comes back to the end of the day with real estate marketing.
Awesome. So, Kingsley's, I guess, cavorting around Barcelona or something this weekend, or at least that's what he told me. He's probably really drinking Coronas in his backyard, but hey, whatever.
Is that what they call a staycation, right?
That's a staycation. Yeah. So today's show, Jesse and I are going to be talking about some interesting things. We're going to be talking about what we call blended mortgage programs, where the business has changed on the financing side, because there are a lot more options whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing. Now, we're going to be talking to you from the realtor perspective and about products that we know that are out there and how that can benefit you or your kids buying a home or refinancing. We're also going to talk later in the show about everyone wants to know what our company's been doing, with what we call our blended commission program. How are we selling under auction terms? So we're going to touch a bit on that. And then, our favorite home inspector, John Stas, is going to be on, probably about 8:40 this morning. And John's going to be discussing plumbing inspections, because that's a big part of every home inspection. It's one of the major mechanical areas. So we've got a good show today. We're going to be talking and giving you lots more information. So just let's talk a little bit about, our listeners don't know, when you and I are talking about, hey, I got a blended mortgage program or something with some, what are we talking about?
Well, when it comes to mortgages, there's some really, really great programs out there. Everybody thinks that, because of the mortgage crash a few years ago, that everything's gone away. And that's what you're seeing out of your stereotypical realtor responding to their clients, because the perfect client is conventional 20% down or a cash deal. Well, we know and we understand the reality is that not everybody's got perfect credit. Not everybody has 20% down. So there's a lot of blended mortgage programs out there. Most people don't even realize they can do a 3% down conventional. But with different lenders, So I work with several different lenders for my real estate business, and it's really I'm partnering up my client with the best mortgage for them and the best service for them. So
because it's really one size doesn't fit all, and mortgage lenders and mortgage brokers all have different products, right? And they all don't have the same product.
correct. So your traditional banks have certain sets of rules and regulations that they're doing that they've adopted from the bank, even if you're talking about just a simple FHA or a USDA loan. But then when you step out to mortgage brokers who aren't necessarily putting the money into that pack on them by themselves, and they're selling it off before they even get to the settlement table, well, now they're selling it back to those big banks that put overlays on top of what they even would do on those mortgage brokers. But then you have, a lot of the smaller mortgage banks that will do different programs. So like currently I've got a client in Allentown, he's 20 years old, buying a $157,000 home.
So a
Millennial, FHA loan on the house, but he doesn't have any money. So in that case, what we did is an FHA loan with a secondary loan on top of that covered his 3.5% down FHA loan. So realistically, it's like a 100% loan.
When now on that second loan, where's that coming from? The same mortgage person, or is it a different thing, or is it a charity like the old Nehemiah program?
Well, in this particular situation, this is just actually a second loan program out of New Jersey that it's being offered for it on this particular program. So it's a special little thing that this particular bank has to offer to allow them to do an FHA loan with the overlay for the second mortgage for the 3.5. And then, like I say, the gentleman didn't have money, so I shouldn't say very much money. So in this instance, I wound up giving 2% of my commission back as agent assist on the transaction for his closing cost. The sellers are given $1,500 in closing cost. The lender's given a 1.5 for closing cost, and the fellow's actually come to the table with about $2,000 into this whole transaction, and he put $1,000 up as his good faith deposit. So at the day of settlement, he's going to need another $1,000.
So that's one place where you were able to put somebody in with less cash. I have seen that there's a program out there. I know one of the carriers on it is a company called Unison. And what Unison will actually do is if you're putting 10% down on a conventional loan, they will put up the other 10% on the loan so that you get to be 20% down, so you have no private mortgage insurance, which we'll touch on here in a second. And then they actually stay in there as an equity player on the home. As you know, when you go to sell it, they're going to share in the profits. So they almost become like a 10% equity stake owner, I guess, in your home.
Oh yeah. So there's programs like that out there, but then you also have community-based programs like in Lancaster County. You've got LHOP, which gives you $5,000 towards your closing costs.
What's LHOP? Our listeners won't know.
Lancaster Housing Authority or Lancaster Housing Opportunity Position or something like that. But it's a nonprofit in Lancaster County to help individuals buying a home. 3 years ago, we used an LHOP loan. The buyer was a single mom with 4 kids, collecting welfare for her daily living, and with an LHOP loan, we were able to get her qualified through FHA to buy a $45,000 loan.
So now, okay, so with the Lancaster program, is that like a grant or is it an actual loan that they repay?
The LHOP is a grant where they'll never have to repay it. As long as they live and maintain the house for 5 years, that money's forgiven.
Okay, so very similar to the Dauphin County program. I know York's different, and I know Lebanon has different spins on that. Some of them you do have to pay some back, some you don't. So that's definitely a great option. So someone can get some down payment and or closing cost money towards that. Have you used any like PHFA?
We do. So I've had folks where we've done FHA loans, which is a USDA loan, which is 100% financing, overlaid it with a PHFA, which is Pennsylvania Fair Housing Association out of Harrisburg. They're going to hold the loan forever, the life of the loan. They're going to hold it in Harrisburg, so you're always going to have somebody local to deal with your loan. But at the same time, when you overlay it with the PHFA, now you've got 4% up to $10,000 as a second loan on that, which is called a KGov through PHFA. That gives you that money towards your closing costs because your USDA loan is 100% financing. Or we've used it in the past where we had an FHA and then do the KGov over top on the FHA to get them their down payment money and 0.5% towards their closing costs. And then you combine that with LHOP or the Greater Harrisburg Dauphin County program or the Philadelphia programs. So you can combine 3 and 4 of these programs to put a good deal together. Now, with that said, you're not going to close in 30 days. You're not going to close in 45 days. It's going to generally be a 60 or 80-day close because you've got to get each layer clear to close.
So now with some of these programs that I'm familiar with, like with Dauphin County or Cumberland County, the borrower, the person buying the home, they have to actually go and take a couple classes in order to qualify. But then that certificate, they get actually like a certificate, and that's sort of eligible then to go and get. But you don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, I've had people, that we put the offer together and then they've gone for the classes.
Well, some of the programs, and depending on the program, that's why it's really vital to meet your realtor and agree to work with your realtor and explain to your realtor what your situation is for them to put something together for you. Because at the end of the day, your realtor is going to help guide you, or a good realtor is going to help guide you into the right lender to use, the programs to use, and some of those programs may require you to take an online course or a course at an office someplace, like the LHOP program. You got to pay $50 and take the course before you write the offer on the home. You can't write the offer on the home and then try and shove the course in. And there's only certain times of the year that they do that finance counseling, which is what LHOP requires you to do as a finance counselor. Teach you how to manage your money, how to balance your checkbook, and things like that.
So I guess if the roof's starting to leak, that to, instead of going on the cruise, get the roof fixed.
Correct.
So, folks, there's a lot of low or, almost no down payment programs out there. I do know actually some of the lenders are actually offering even 100% on the conventional side. But a lot of times, you want to try to avoid the private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance is sort of automatically avoided when you use a VA or veterans loan. And we really, need to see more veterans starting to utilize the benefits that you've earned, by serving all this here in America. And Jesse, somebody just said to me on Facebook, well, they heard FHA doesn't have PMI, private mortgage insurance.
No, that's not true. FHA is a big proponent of PMI, and with FHA,
but they call it something different. They call it MIP, right?
Yeah, MIP, but it's life of the loan principal insurance now. So you can't finance out of it. So that's why I try and steer clients out of the FHA arena. If I can get them into a USDA or a conventional 3% down loan and then overlay the different programs onto it, after you get down to 79.9%, you can have the PMI removed.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're having some, if you're watching this on Facebook, we're trying, Jesse's in today, and we're actually streaming onto like 5 other channels besides our Facebook. So yeah, our cameras are, they've got the little camera gremlins in them today. I think that was partly because of me playing with them earlier, but we'll get this down. Okay, so on FHA we have MIP, or private mortgage insurance. So that's something that you have to calculate in when you are buying a home. So one thing you may want to consider, if you have a loan right now with private mortgage insurance, or if you bought FHA and you have mortgage insurance premium or whatever that they will call it, what you may want to do is you may actually want to reach out to us and connect with one of our lenders so that you can maybe refinance and get out of that, because private mortgage insurance is pretty stiff.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. FHA on a $100,000 mortgage is going to be somewhere around $97 or so, on an average mortgage. But for those folks, around $97 a month. I've seen clients that are around $150, $160, or about that are about $130 a month or so for their private mortgage insurance. If you can get away from that, that's all money that you could be putting towards your principal and not mortgage insurance.
Right. So that's an area, folks, that may make sense for you to refinance, because you may get a better interest rate. But even if you're not getting a better interest rate, you may get rid of that extra $100 or $200 a month that's going out for insurance that you're really not using anymore. That private mortgage insurance is designed to protect the lender, not you, protect the lender between the difference of what you put down and 20% equity. So bear that in mind. $100 a month is a lot of money in most households, and that could actually be utilized better in your pocket today. So we're going to get ready. We're going to head to break here. We're gonna pay some bills, and we'll be back.
Or visit
Right now, I don't have any.
We just took you back from a blue screen over to the live video. So we cut for commercial. Okay. So this way they're not looking at you while you're trying to talk and fix things. So you'll be back to live now.
All right, so we're back. You're listening to the Real Estate Radio Guy, Rainville from Brokers Realty, and my guest host this morning,
Jesse Storm with BrokersRealty.com.
So, we were discussing here, different things on the financing arena, how you can get in by blended programs, so maybe you can avoid private mortgage insurance. So some of the other ways that you can do it, well, we went over that you can use grant programs, too, if you have VA eligibility, if you're either in the Guard or a veteran, use your VA eligibility. There are blended programs where you can, maybe get a secondary loan that takes part of it. And then there are companies out there right now that if you've got enough money to come up with 10% down, will actually put up 10% for an equity stake in your home so that you can avoid that private mortgage insurance. So that can be something for you to look at.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the other things that folks out there should think about is when you're partnering up with and hiring a realtor, you should really be hiring your realtor before you start looking at houses. If you're online on Zillow looking at houses before you've hired your realtor, at a step level down.
Right. I think a lot of times, Jesse, my experience over the years has been that they undervalue what a realtor brings to the table. And, when we do this every day, day in and day out, 6-7 days a week, we do have a clue, folks, as to the way to be your Sherpas and guide you and keep you out of the potholes. And sometimes you just can't beat experience. You know, somebody like Jesse or myself, we may know how to get you out of a predicament or work around an obstacle. A lot of the realtors' functions anymore is you have to realize that we're real, and we get thrown different problems every day, every year, every time something's new. Looking, trying to figure out how we can get you to where you want to be on your goals. Jesse, you've run into some different things over the years. Let's just say in the last quarter, you know, what's some of the problems you've seen as a realtor trying to get a buyer to the table?
Well, I think the number one issue with buyers is cash on hand. A lot of folks get on Zillow or Realtor.com and they look at the estimated mortgage payment. It says that this $110,000 home is only going to be $347 a month. And that's really the biggest problem I think I've run into over the years, which is accurate on a 30-year mortgage with a super low interest rate, but it's not what their mortgage payment's going to be.
What's it not including? What are you saying?
They're not. Zillow and Realtor.com, these places aren't including your prorated taxes. They're not including your homeowner's insurance. They're not including your flood insurance if you're required to have flood insurance. You know, they're not including your principal mortgage insurance or PMI insurance if you're not putting 20% down. So there's a lot that goes into those calculations. And then when you have somebody that calls you and says, "Hey, I'm paying $850 a month in rent, and this house on Zillow says it's $347. To make this happen," you tell them, "Okay, I understand that. Well, how much money do you have in your pocket?" "Well, about $1,200. "How much do you make?" "Well, I make $50,000 a year." You should qualify if you qualify for a $150,000 loan. Right. You know, depending on what your debt to income ratio is, and that's where we partner you up with a lender and see what those things look like, so we know which route to go with you.
So you just hit on though. You mentioned too. You know, this is something where our experience brings. You said about flood insurance. That can be really costly, right?
Yep, I got folks right now in the house. They wanted it because the wife liked to fish off the back deck of the house right into the creek that was behind there, and that meant that the water was fairly close. If you could cast off the deck of the house and into the water's close. And so, you know, we wrote the offer. The offer got accepted, subject to one of the inspections that I put in there was for them to check for flood insurance pricing and homeowner's insurance on it. And the flood insurance came back at $9,700 a year.
And you know, it's interesting, you know, we're talking about the flood insurance because it's before Congress right now to reinstitute the National Flood Insurance Program. And I'm not sure that I'm a proponent of it. I am a realtor, but I'm not sure that that's the best way for the federal government to be insuring us on the flood. I found out, you know, now that private insurers here in Pennsylvania are offering private flood insurance, which only runs about a third of what the federal program is.
Well, you know, you got all that bureaucratic stuff that goes into FEMA and the government program, so they gotta pad those numbers a little bit to make sure that they have a couple 100,000 trailers on standby for the next flood.
Right. Yeah, and so I'm thinking, you know, I mean, there's an area, you know, when we're talking about experience, you know, Jesse or I would know. So you got that $9,700 quote from, you know, a National Flood Insurance Program carrier, but you may be able to bring $4,000, which could be a game changer and make somebody still want to buy the house, right?
Correct. I mean, but at the end of the day, if you don't want to throw money out the door for flood insurance because you really don't necessarily want to or need to have flood insurance, then we got to start looking at other houses that are away from the waters, away from the AE zonings, and away from the different. And see, that's what most people don't realize is as I'm looking for houses for them on the S, I'm looking at flood zone ratings, putting in, I'm looking at all the different things with that. And when we're using the Association of Realtors, NAR, RPR programs, we're looking and checking on the flood, house in a flood zone. How could this potentially affect our client? And if we're looking for good house, low mortgage, negotiate hard to get them the best deal, then flood insurance may not be one of those things that we want to put into that mix.
Another thing, on flood, still another area, where from experience, sometimes your realtor can assist you. Sometimes you can have an elevation shot, and that's when they do a survey. We talked about surveys on the show here before, and find out where the house actually sits in the relationship to the flood zones, because sometimes the lot may be in the flood zone, but the house may be out. And again, that's a game changer as far as your insurance. It can actually sometimes eliminate the insurance, even though the house currently has flood insurance, because over the last few years, FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers, they have been redoing most of the flood maps here in Pennsylvania slowly.
Yeah, you're right on there, John. I mean, what folks don't realize is a property could be in a flood zone, but you may not be required to have flood insurance because the flood zone doesn't touch the home itself. So, like, over along the river, Susquehanna, you've got a lot of homes that are setting up slightly on a hillside where the flood zone really comes onto the property but doesn't touch the house. In most cases, lenders aren't going to require you to have flood insurance on that property because it doesn't touch the home.
And we also know, folks, you have to think about things like this, or your realtor has to think about things like this. If you remember a couple of years ago, we had the flood down there in like the Hershey area, which was not, nobody thought they were near water, but you remember there were businesses that were up to their roofs in floodwater. And that all does play into it. Just because you don't see water nearby, there's an area over in New Cumberland where there's a small creek by, and there's a Rita's there, there's a restaurant there, and a flash heavy rainstorm can flood those areas. So it's not just the major floods we're talking about there on the flood insurance.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking at escapeways also for the water town or leaving a municipality or development too, how they're channeling that water out through to get away from it. But this is exactly why you should sit down with prior to looking for houses, so we can lay out the game plan. What are you looking for? What area are you looking to be in? What do we want to be at monthly? Just because a lender says, John Rainville, you're pre-qualified for $1 million, and that payment's going to look like $10,000
a month.
You may only feel comfortable spending $1,000 a month, and $1,000.
I'm frugal, Jesse. I got to keep it under $750 for you, buddy.
So that's why you really want to talk to your real the younger generation that I talk to that are first time. The lend and get this pre-approval from some company online, which is great. And they tell them you're pre-qualified up to $150,000. They go on Zillow, and they see a $147,000 home with a mortgage payment on Zillow of an estimate of $412. And then when you talk to them, you tell them it's $1,200, and they're like, I don't want to be over $8,000.
I know, I've had that payment shock. Some people just, they get a number stuck in their head, and usually the first time you buy a house, or even the first time move up, you're always concerned about, am I going to be able to make this 14? And, usually after you're into it for a year or so, it's nothing. And 10 years down the road, it seems like, wow, that. So, I mean, people are, the reasons people are buying homes are because if you're owning your own home, that gives you the stability, if you're young, to go ahead and start and raise a family. And it's your place, it's your domain. If you want to change the color of the walls, you want to rip out walls, you want to do things like that, you have the ability to do it. Renting right now, you may want to assist them getting in homes. Reach out to Jesse or I. you know, and we'll be happy to help you get pointed in the right direction. Jesse, what's a good number for them to call you if they're looking for a realtor?
Well, you can always reach out to me through Brokers Realty at 1-888-774-8488, or you can call my local office, 717-947-7041.
Now, do you just do houses, or do you sell other things?
No, I as I said at the beginning of the show, we do residential, we do commercial, we do a lot of different things. We also do property management.
But you also, okay, so you sell commercial, you sell land, you sell a little bit of everything.
Yeah, if it's real estate related, I can make it happen. I'm also licensed in Pennsylvania and Maryland, so I help a lot of individuals bring things back and forth.
Yeah. So again, folks, you know, it's about the experience. So we're going to be talking here with John Stas here about, you know, 840, but I want to go into a little bit of a different topic. You know, our company has been, you know, sort of changing the game here a little bit in the Harrisburg, Central Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New York arena with our selling under auction terms, what we call our blended commission program. So Jesse, do you want to touch on that a little bit with our listeners? So if you're thinking about selling a home, listen to this, because you do have more options now.
Well, I mean, for many years, everybody's known about the 5, 6, and 7% traditional real estate listing. And, you know, Brokers Realty has come up with this really great blended program which allows us to do online offer acceptance. And in that blended program, we're able to have programs for home sellers as low as 0% seller side commission.
So would you say it's sort of like a menu of services that the consumer, the seller, can now choose the services they need, what makes the most sense for them?
Exactly. I mean, I've gone from having 3 options for commissions with home sellers and property sellers to having 7 options for them. So I've gone from the traditional 5, 6, and 7% only options, which is all we really had.
Which is what most people see. I know we're really not supposed to talk about specific, you know, commission numbers, but because that is all negotiable, folks, in the state of Pennsylvania and every state, you're able to negotiate that fee. The term of the contract on the listing is totally negotiable. The fee you pay, actually even the fee, if you're signing a buyer's agency agreement, if you're on the other side, that fee is negotiable by state law. So just realize that there's not a set amount, there's not a set fee that the state law, right, you know, says this is it, that you've got to pay $3,500 or whatever. It isn't like that. You can negotiate that. Don't be afraid to negotiate that, or have the realtor justify why their fee is that and what are they doing for those funds, right?
Oh, correct, John. I mean, what most people don't realize, though, is, you know, you walk into, you have the average realtor come in from the big brokerages, and the big brokerages tell their agents, look, you know, our standard is 6%. So they go out and they go up to Johnny's house to list his house for sale, and Johnny says, well, what's the commission? It's 6%. Why? Well, that's what my company's standard is. Well, okay, so I guess I'm listing my house for 6%. What am I getting out of it? You're going to get it in the MLS, you're going to get a sign. Most companies do that for 5%.
Let's just talk about that here for a second. Most companies, you know, no matter what rate they are that they charge, come out and do pretty much the same thing. They're going to put a sign up in the yard. They're going to probably put a lockbox on the house, and then they're going to put it in the multi-list. And then usually from the multi-list, it'll go out to places like Zillow and that, certain arenas. So after that base program, what would be some of the services, you know, that you provide in the next one up?
Yeah, so I mean, what I've done is I've come out with a menu of options for my home sellers. You know, and like I say, the traditional 5, 6, and 7 types of plans, and then our fabulous new blended program, which I don't know why anyone would even stay with a traditional plan anymore, but our blended programs, are 0, 1, 2, and 3.
So at the base plan where there's really no listing fee because we're going to charge a buyer's premium to, right, under auction terms. But that base plan, like for an investor or a flipper, somebody knows that their houses in their neighborhood are selling in 3 days.
Yeah, 0%. You're going to have your standard MLS, you're going to have your standard yard sign, and you're going to have your lockbox. And in those 0% commission situations, it's kind of like if you went to the for sale by owner sites, so you're going to provide the pictures and stuff like that.
So the owner does some of the work, but because they're doing some of the work, they're reaping that benefit.
Correct.
If it works for them.
They're providing their own photos. They're going to handle their showings. And what we're going to do is we're going to review the contracts, negotiate on their behalf, and protect them through the transaction, with that. But that's going to get them on the multi-list. Where if you go to, one of these online for sale companies for sale owner types of things,
where they're charging a flat fee.
Yeah, well, see, flat fees aren't even there anymore. What I'm seeing is a lot of those companies are charging you $199 to get set up in the program, and then $29.99, $59.99, and $99 a month until you are done with selling your house.
There are still a couple flat fee vendors out there, that are like franchised. I've seen. So, but you're right. There's always the hook that then if you want to have a realtor come and sell it, then you've got to give them X number percent, to what they call the buyer's agent.
Correct. And see, with those programs, if you're a for sale by owner type of thing, most for sale by owners talk to their buyer's agent, and the buyer's agent wants 3% commission. Well, with our blended program for 3% seller side commission, that agent's still getting paid. You're getting our gold package, a service that you would get at a 7% traditional level.
So I'll tell you what. We're gonna John Stas, our home inspector, is on the line. We're gonna bring John on and talk about plumbing issues. After the break, then we're gonna come back and we're gonna start to give them an idea of what you get when you go all the way from soup to nuts.
Okay.
Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or rig-on mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at ebqharrisburg.com. That's ebqharrisburg.com. Back to the show, the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville.
Well, folks, you're back with John Rainville and Jesse Storm this morning. We're talking real estate here. We're talking about blended mortgage programs we spoke about earlier. We're speaking about blended commission programs, how you can save money as a seller. And of course, this morning we're on the line with our favorite home inspector, Mr. Stas. How are you doing this morning, John?
Morning, John.
Jesse's here with me this morning. Kingsley's like, you know, I don't know, in Aruba, Barcelona, or somewhere drinking Coronas.
I think he was on a staycation.
You think he's in a staycation? Yeah. He could be in a staycation. So good morning, and where are you today? Are you local or are you at a soccer tournament? So good. Yeah, that's great. We've got a great connection too today. So we want to talk about plumbing inspections and what's typical, what's EnviroQuest do, and tell listeners a little bit more about what's involved with plumbing inspections.
Let me get back to you on that, okay?
So John, is your inspection different? There's a well involved as you know, opposed to public water? Trucks. So John, it sounds like you're at Daytona. It sounds like, you know, the capacity of a good clip there today. That you've seen, I mean, we've seen changes in plumbing, right? We've gone from cast iron products like terracotta, lead pipes, now to like PVC. We went to that gray pipe, that polybutylene, and now we've got the red and the blue with the circuit breakers like on it for the water. But on the older plumbing, what are some of the issues that you see, for example, like with cast iron? And some of that, if you're is looking, what you sounds like you're telling me is that may not be condensation on it. Oh, okay. Okay, I gotta go. Interesting. So, you don't, but you don't do you do an actual pressure test on anything? Can't hear him, John. Full blast.
Sometimes with low water pressure, it's a brand new baffle in there for the well pump. You know, is it a suggestion to have them check the air pressure in the baffle? They go out to Lowe's and Home Depot and buy a new bladder and put the new bladder into the house because they stick it in, and the bladders generally only come with about 12 pounds of pressure in them, and that you need them up there, what, 23, 24 pounds of pressure to be operating and functioning properly, correct? And that this is why realtors tell their clients that if you've got 15 days to do a home inspection on the house, you should immediately schedule your home inspector, because if your home inspector goes out on day 14 and recommends that you have someone else come in to look at the bladder or the well or the septic system. So let's say that the baffle on the septic tank is bad, and you recommend having a septic company come in and check that more thoroughly, or look for some issue with a drain field. It's on the buyer to do that. And if you're doing your home inspection on day 14, your response to home seller isn't, my home inspector said the home seller should have someone look at the water system. No, you should be responding to your reply to home inspection with, we've done a home inspection, we've done a well and water test, and we've had a septic company out to look at X, Y, or Z, and this is what's wrong. It's not the seller's responsibility to hire a specialist for the field to come out and evaluate what could or couldn't be wrong because a home inspector said the water pressure's a little low.
So John, that's something you guys really don't do. You septic inspections, you actually have the people, recommend that they get in an expert for that, correct? I'm Eric. So John, what are some of the common deficiencies you see in a plumbing system when you're out there in the field right now looking at people's homes doing the inspections? That's your gray plastic pipe, right?
That's in all of our RVs.
So John, you know, one of our Facebook people, they're asking, what's your personal opinion as the hard PVC plastic versus that new blue and red one piece with the
PEX what?
Is that what it is? PEX with the PEX piping. Which do you prefer?
CPVC is what they'd be talking about.
Yeah. And you don't have to worry about anyone breaking in and stealing the copper then,
Yeah.
too, right?
Even though I like drinking out of water that comes from copper. Well, hey, John, I got a question for you. You know, for the buyers out here, when they show up, you know, if their agent recommends a home inspector or they open the telephone book up and flip through the yellow pages looking for a home inspector, they show up to a home inspection. What are some of the tools that should be in their tool belt? What tools should that buyer be seeing that home inspector using? Like a couple of my pet peeves is if a home inspector doesn't show up with a flathead screwdriver and a moisture meter, I ask him to reschedule and we cancel him and find somebody else. What are some of the tools you feel should be in the tool belt?
So John, if somebody's having questions on their plumbing, whether it's on their waste lines, their supply lines, leaking or anything like that, what's the best number to contact you guys at EnviroQuest? And we know you're on Facebook, and your website is EnviroQuest EVQ, EVQ. All right. Well, buddy, you have a good day. You know, drive safe, and we'll talk to you next week. All right. Thanks. Interesting. So yeah. So if you're, you know, a lot of different things. You know, water can cause a lot of problems. You know, in a home, whether it's plumbing issues or whether it's roof leaks or things like that. So you know, Jesse. So we're back on. We've got about 3 minutes here. So. Give our listeners a quick idea of your bronze, silver, and gold packages, you know, on listing at their home.
Okay, so our traditional bronze package is our lower grade package, which is going to get you MLS, basic photos, yard sign, basic showing service, basic marketing services. You know, then you step up to the silver package, and you're getting a professional quality camera shot photograph. You're getting a landing page for marketing to be driven to. You're getting a little bit more in the marketing level. You're getting multiple MLS sources to put the home into, and you're going out to about 3,000 different real estate websites on our silver package. And then you step up to the gold package, and that's where you're getting that Matterport. For those out there that have never seen a real virtual tour and they've only seen the slide-through photos, go to Matterport.com once. Take a look at what that is. That's what we at Brokers Realty provide.
So that's like a 3D walkthrough. I mean, that's, You know, I put up a thing on Real Estate Radio Guys last night that showed a video from about 1981 about what they, no, 1988, what they thought real estate was going to be in the year 2000. And it's sort of funny because we're not wearing the silver suits that they said we would.
Well, we're close though.
No. So 3D tours, a virtual walkthrough, and what's the advantage to the consumer on that?
Well, I've sold, in the past year, I've sold 4 houses where one buyer came from China. They never even showed up for settlement. They've never been in the house. They called a local realtor and asked the realtor to go out and make sure the house looked like what they were looking at online. A buyer bought a house from California back here in Pennsylvania, never showed up until their final walkthrough to see the home in person. Had a realtor go out and look at it because they could move around the house. They could look to the ceiling, the floors, spin 360 degrees around on that Matterport, and really own that home and feel like they were there.
So really you can walk through the home without being there and do everything except really open the cabinets, right?
Yeah, you open the cabinets, kick the floorboards, you know, they're the things you're not doing, but then that's where your home inspector comes into play. A lot of these folks had their home inspectors go out, do the inspection, and
they knew what they were buying. They'd already seen it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it can actually save time on the sales process or better qualify the people that are coming through because they've already really seen the home. And then when they come out to actually take a physical tour of the home, it's really verifying what they already saw online.
Yep. And then with that gold package, you have your marketing boxes, which is postcards, mailers, things that go out, 30,000 different real estate websites, the aerial tours, the aerial quadcopters.
So if somebody's thinking about selling their home this weekend and want to talk to you about listing their home, what's the best number for them to reach you this weekend?
717-947-7041.
And what's your extension there?
Press 1.
Press 1.
Press
extension 1. All right, extension number 1. So folks, next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about some real estate things such as what consumers want, what realtors want in the real estate industry. We're looking at, in August, we're going to have the foundation guys on, and we're also going to have back one of our most popular people, Weedman. So, till next week.
Weedman?
Yeah, Weedman. Weedman's coming back. Now, he's not a relative. Don't give me that look. All right, so till next week, folks. Thanks again. Stay radio, guys.
Stay Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit PAGoLoan.com, RealToRealty.com, and Facebook.com/RealEstateRadioGuy. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate and review, and we'll catch you next time on the Real Estate